All right, perfect. I think we are up and running with the recording. So we'll go ahead and get started with the presentation. Thank you, Liz and Will, for joining us today. We are super excited because this is the first information session that we have for our newest Master of Social Work program here at Siena University. We could not be more excited. Um, just a quick overview of what we want to go over today. So we'll do some quick introductions of myself and Elisa, an overview of the program, Siena as an institution, and then just some really basic information on the admissions process for those of you who might be looking at applying either this year or next fall. And at the end, like I mentioned, we'll have time for a live Q&A where we're able to see if you have any questions that are on top of your mind that are more specific to your situation. So unfortunately, not able to join us today is Doreen Morris. Doreen is the Assistant Director of Grad Admissions here at Siena. And sorry, I'm getting a phone call. And she might be a familiar face that you see as you're going through the admissions process. Myself and Doreen really split the load of all the incoming students and prospective students. So even though she's not here today, we want to be able to virtually introduce you to her since you might be working with her down the road. Again, my name is John. Really easy name to remember. Just remember James Bond and you're close. You're 3 letters off. I'm going into year 8 at Siena. I got my career started here on the undergrad admissions side, and I've since moved over to the grad programs office for the past year or so. And I also teach in the School of Business in the management department as well. And I'll turn it over to Lisa for a quick introduction.
Hi, I'm Elisa. I am actually, as of September, professor of social work
Woo!
and the MSW program director. And so I will be starting my 12th year at Siena, and Snickers is assaulting me with their tail. So if you see it go by, that would be Snickers. Yeah.
Awesome. So I know we do have a lot of Siena alumni that might be on the call, but many who might not be alumni of Siena. So we wanted to start by giving an introduction into Siena University, or for many of you, if you're not aware of the recent change, formerly known as Siena College. With the introduction of this Master's of Social Work program, we have officially been granted the right to change to Siena University. But our campus is located in Loudonville. We are 10 minutes north of downtown Albany, but really in this great pocket of New York where you have easy access to the cities of the capital region, Albany, Troy, Saratoga, but also great access to nature and some major cities in the Northeast. 2.5 hours north of New York City, 2.5 hours west of Boston, a short drive to Montreal, etc. So being a college student here, especially since this is an in-person program, you'll have to be within driving distance of campus. You want to make sure that you're going to join a community outside of the university that sets you up for success. And we truly feel that the capital region does that for our students. We are super proud that for 3 years in a row, Siena has been #1 in New York for getting a job, for job placement, all based off of US Department of Labor statistics. So again, this is not just program specific. These are all students across undergrad and grad school. Excuse me. But something that we definitely want to mention, because as you know, as you're looking at graduate programs, the goal obviously is to either help change careers or help propel you into the career that you're looking to go into the social work profession for this program. So definitely something that we like to brag about when we get students on the call. Wall Street Journal also ranked Siena this past year as number 69 of colleges and universities in the country. That places us squarely in the top 2%. Definitely something we're proud of as well. And then, regardless of your religious background or lack thereof, Siena is a top 10 Catholic university in the country. We actually placed number 9, just ahead of Marquette University, which our president always likes to remind people. And since you will be in person, we like to mention our campus as well. So many of your classes will be in Rossetti Hall, I'm assuming, correct, Elisa?
I would hope. We'll see.
Yeah. That is where the social work commons is, where all the professors' offices are. A lot of great student study space there as well. But as a Siena student, you have full access to all of our facilities. We have a great gym on campus that as a student you'd have access to. The student union, where we have Starbucks, the food options on campus, our library, you name it. As a Siena social work student, you have full access to everything it means to be a saint. Now I'm going to turn it over to Elisa for really the true reason that you're here, to learn a little bit more about our new MSW program.
All right. So there it is. When we thought about creating our MSW program, we sat as a faculty and thinking about what students want. We did a feasibility study asking our graduates what they liked about the program, what they liked or didn't like about their master's programs they went into, and also the trends of where people go. So we know that a lot of people come into social work and come to get their master's because they want to do counseling, they want to do clinical work. However, social work is also grounded in community change and systems work. So we looked at making our program an advanced generalist curriculum. So we are going to prepare students to really well to do that clinical work, but we're also going to prepare you to engage with systems at the community level, at the organization level, as well as the individual family and groups level. We have this great opportunity by being near the state capitol, so we take advantage of that so that when we're talking about policy practice, we have students have the opportunity to actually practice what it would look like to engage in policy work. We have a diverse range of nonprofits, in our Tri-City areas to tap into. And we have a great alumni base, a great faculty, and yeah, I think that's good. Oh, and we love the Franciscan. So I just went on a Franciscan mission trip, and I learned about St. Francis further than I already knew. And he was a little social work radical, working within the confines of a system to make change and help people. So, he's definitely a great example of how you create change and serve others. So we like that about it. So we believe really in active learning. So some pictures of former students engaging in a WICKED's problems activity as part of a coursework, to really take apart problems and figure out how to solve them. This was in our community organizations class. Looking at our curriculum in and of itself, right? This is what you want to know, the nuts and bolts. For students who do not come with a social work degree, they come and do the full 2-year program. So the first year is the generalist foundation. So we're looking at learning about the human behavior in the social environment. How do people interact and engage with the environment that they're in? Be that people, be that, the housing where they live, the community they're in, what services they have access to. We're very focused on skills, like how do you ask questions? How do you engage and build rapport? How do you work with individuals and families? Moving into the second semester, we also look at that practice with groups, so individual and families, groups looks different, organizations and communities looks different again. However, the skills remain the same across. So if you know how to talk to somebody, that works wherever way you're engaging with them. We have an expectation students learn about research because research guides our practice, and we want our practice to be guided by research as well. So if we have questions, we want to go to the literature and see what it's saying. And then the foundation of social work education is our field education, so that you're not only learning about it in the classroom, you're going out and practicing it. So you're getting that experience, and part of that field education experience is coming together in a weekly group supervision class with your peers and a social work faculty member to process what's going on, what you're experiencing, making those connections to our theory base, so that you're enhancing your skills and developing your ethics and all of those other things that I'm not articulating well, but I think you get the gist. So with that said, was there a question about the first year curriculum? No, you're good? All right, second year. So you've survived the first year. You're like, wow, this is awesome. Social work is really singing in my soul. This is where we get into the nuts and bolts. Part of it is, as I said, we know students are going to go out and practice individually. The bulk of them will, because that's just what people are doing. So to prepare students in that way, we have an assessment and diagnostics class, right? Part of mental health treatment is being able to diagnose people, to assess them appropriately. Unfortunately, labels are needed to bill insurance. So while we hate them, we also need to know how to use them. So this is learning how to use the diagnostic and criteria book to figure those things out. And then there's also an advanced clinical practice class, which has a strong foundation in psychodynamic theory and a family theory, because part of what we want people to know is how to understand ourselves, right? There's an element within our coursework throughout, self-awareness, so that I know who I am. So when I'm engaging with somebody else, I'm not letting that interfere. But then it's also letting me understand and help that person I'm working with understand what they're going through and different levels of that. But again, we said that it's advanced generalist practice. We want students to know how to engage at different levels of practice. So we have a facilitating social change, which is going to focus on community organizing, mediation, negotiation. So some really concrete skills that will help working with those larger systems. And again, we believe in research. So this advanced research will focus on case studies and program evaluation. So things that you would work at as you're progressing in an organization. You might be looking at those more advanced skills. And further field education experience, so more practice. And in the spring semester, we have a leadership course because we want students to understand, well, even if your students are saying, I'm never going to be a supervisor, I'm never going to do this. If you're doing your job well, chances are someone's going to tap you and say, I think you should be a supervisor. And supervising is its own skill set. So you need to be prepared to know what that looks like so that you can be a good supervisor. And also part of that is learning how to work with grants, because sometimes that might be something, if you're not interested in clinical work, you might go into something that is looking for you to write grants. And sometimes in your clinical work, you'd be like, hey, we need more funds. Maybe I need to write a grant. So it's going to give you that exposure. And then our advanced clinical practice 2 is going to take you further into some evidence-informed practices like cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, and acceptance and commitment therapy. And then we have our social welfare policy is in a global context, recognizing that global is local and how those things interact with us, but then also how are different places and countries engaging in social welfare differently than we are, and what are the strengths and weaknesses of those different models. Then you're also having field education. So second year of the program, you're doing 500 hours of field education throughout the 2 semesters, and in the first year, it's 400 hours. So with that, does anyone have any questions?
Yes, I do. The hours, do those count towards the post-grad hours that we need, like supervised hours? Okay, just making sure.
Nope.
Thank you.
All right, so I can tell you the fall lineup for our advanced standing program, which is starting in the fall. So this is for students who have a bachelor's degree and had a 3.0 or better and being better in all of their courses. So we have a Monday, Wednesday, 8 to 10 advanced clinical practice 1. Monday, Wednesday, 10:30 to 12:30 assessment and diagnosis. And those are both 4-credit courses. So to make the content both more palatable and better able to hang on to it, we thought breaking it apart to 2 2-hour courses would be a better fit than trying to sit through a 4-hour course. And then we have our advanced research, which is going to be Mondays afternoons. The facilitating social change is Monday evenings. So it's going to be a long Monday. And then Wednesday afternoon is the group supervision class. And then Tuesday, Thursday, Friday are the days students going to be out getting in their field hours. So again, another example of our students being active learners in their coursework. We try to think about ways that you're going to engage with the material that is both meaningful and, hangs in there as far as your memory goes. So we have academic, behavioral, and ethical expectations that we lay out for students to make it really clear what our expectations are. And this aligns with our social work values and good professional practice. So part of that for our MSW is maintaining a 3.0 or higher for your GPA and a minimum grade of C or better for all your MSW courses. And then our field education are pass-fail, so you need to earn a pass grade for those courses. For academic expectations, right? This is both for the classroom and for field education, but it's the expectation to show up on time, be prepared, do your homework, get that in, because these are all demonstrations of activities that, if your employer is going to want to make sure that you're walking in the door on time, or that your clients want you to, when you say you're going to be there, that you're there. We want you to actively participate in the class, in discussions and in activities, because that's how you're going to learn. We expect original work, so keep the AI out of the course, out of your learning. And maybe part of that will be learning how to use the AI, but it doesn't have space in your original work. Accept feedback, because part of growth is reflecting and knowing what you've done well and what needs to improve. And sometimes you need somebody else to tell you what that looks like. Communicate effectively and meet the deadlines. Our behavioral and professional expectations, right? Comply with our policies, the policies of the course. Be a proactive communicator and problem solver. If we can't read minds, so if people aren't telling us what's going on, we can't help them. Make sure that you're engaging with this with your classmates, with your faculty members, with your field placement. All right, check your email, because that's how we could respond to people, and that's how the professional world responds to people. Right, work effectively with others, and be empathic, diversity affirming, and culturally sensitive in your work and behavior. All right, and ethical expectations. Social work is an ethics-based profession. We have a code of ethics that we have to follow. So with that, it's being respectful, non-judgmental, right, open-minded. Again, we have policies. We as the department, we as Siena have policies that expect behavior that is appropriate, right? So we want behavior that demonstrated in the classroom and in the fieldwork, following our code of ethics. Part of our code of ethics sometimes challenges our personal values. So figuring out how we're going to align with or manage our personal values if they are divergent from the ethical and values of the profession. And sometimes that's easy for folks, so they align up 100%, and sometimes it can be a little bit challenging, right? It doesn't necessarily mean the profession isn't for you. It just means that you're going to have to figure out how to compartmentalize a little bit so that those align. And then boundaries. Boundaries are really important. They keep you safe. They keep you healthy and whole. How do we maintain boundaries? How do we maintain confidentiality so that we respect the clients that we're working with and not break that trust? As well as, like, how much are we sharing about ourselves? And while we might be comfortable sharing everything in the kitchen sink, our clients might not be comfortable with us sharing everything in the kitchen sink. So figuring out what we need to share, when we need to share, and be appropriate about that. All right, this is a great video of our students engaging in lobby day. They went down to the Capitol and helped advocate for mental health matters. All right, is anyone else not hearing the sound, or is that just me? Okay.
Is the sound not working?
No, it's not working.
Oh, shoot. All right. I can.
You were like really focused. I'm like, maybe he doesn't know that we can't hear anything.
I hear it beautifully.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right, let me see.
And it went really fast too.
Yeah, right. I heard you once you started narrating. I'm like, oh, something's wrong. All right, give me 1 second, and then I should be able to fix it. Can you hear it now?
Being heard. for him and for everyone.
All right, let me restart it.
Sweet when Saints go marching. Senior social work majors have a message for New York State's representatives. And they took that message to the Capitol.
We're meeting with legislators and talking about different mental health bills that we're trying to get passed.
Mental Health Matters Day is a tradition nearly 3 decades old. Once a year, activists and allies march on the Capitol. And their mission is to rally support for critical investments and programs that support mental health and suicide prevention in New York.
Mental health is worth fighting for.
For Yasemin Knott, it's personal.
I lost my uncle, who was a first responder to suicide, but I am very blessed to have a loud voice. So I'm going to use my voice to elevate the voices that are not being heard for him and for everyone.
And this is what they came to say.
My message is this is a fight that everyone needs to know about. I think that it's important for all of us to care about it. And if you care about yourself and others, I think that it's bills you would pass.
So this is an important thing for us as individuals, but also at the social work department, because in social work, we really value people's lives and their mental health and what they're about.
And at Siena, Saints are encouraged to go out into the world and speak their truth.
I think this is awesome. Siena really has given me so many chances and so many opportunities to do things in the community that I really never saw myself doing, and getting the chance to come here and actually talk to legislators is something that I really never imagined for myself.
But could their voice actually matter? Absolutely.
Yes, together we can make a difference. Mental health is worth fighting for.
Some crime scene experts scour for DNA, but not this unit. They perform on-scene multimedia extractions.
All right, so that sounds really interesting, but not necessarily related to the MSW program. So we're gonna cut it off right there.
Because
All right, and that brings us to everyone's favorite slide, the applications requirements. So I know, Liz, you're looking at a fall 26 start, correct? And Will, what time frame are you working on?
I would be fall of 26 as well.
Perfect. So it sounds like we have a little bit of time to work on the application process together, which is awesome. We don't have to rush through anything. But I thought better get the information in front of you now so that you know what we're gonna come to expect next year. It sounds crazy to say it, but believe it or not, our applications are open for fall of 26 right now. So you don't have to rush and get everything submitted today or tomorrow or even next month. But it is good to start getting really a head start on the process so that you really feel good about what you're submitting on your application. So one of the things that we require for all of our graduate programs, and one of the things that myself, Doreen, and I know Elisa and the faculty committee love to really look at, is that statement of purpose. And the statement of purpose is essentially going to be your essay for the application. And there are some specific guidelines with what we want to see in that statement of purpose, and I'll let Elisa speak to that more specifically. But at the end of the day, we don't want a novel. We want you to really get in the habit of practicing good, concise writing with the ability to get your point across within about a page, page and a half to 2 pages. Elisa, what do you like to look for in the statement of purpose?
So, you asked me that like I should have it queued up, and I don't have my notes for what the essay actually needs to include.
That's more
Slide
than
that I
okay.
can't see, yeah.
That is okay. So I'll speak very generally, and then we can get into the nuts and bolts of exactly what we'd like to see. But I always tell students your statement of purpose should essentially answer 3 questions. Why you, why Siena, and why now? So we want to see those 3 questions answered, but not necessarily in a formulaic way, but tied in and woven in throughout your essay. Specific to the MSW program, we want to know how your personal values align with the mission and the Franciscan values of Siena University and the MSW program. We want to know your motivation for social work practice, so essentially, why social work, and including your future career goals. Throughout the work that you're writing, we want you to be able to weave in some key definitions that really drive the social work profession, but specifically in regard to our Franciscan values. So we want you to be able to essentially define and understand the importance of how these concepts operate in your life. So racism, privilege, white supremacy, and how you'll address this in your social work education and your future professional practice. And then essentially the YU part of the statement of purpose is your preparedness for the rigors of graduate level study. So are you ready to go out and get this master's of social work and then take that with you into your career?
Nicely said, John. I
Thank
would say
you.
when we're looking and reading our essays, so there's always this balance of the self-disclosure goes back to that. Like, so if there's some personal motivators, things that have led you to think about social work and wanting to be a social worker, thinking about how you want to present those in a way that can share a little, but not too much, right? We don't need to know like the nuts and bolts and the gory details, but saying like, I had an experience and it shaped me, is appropriate. So finding that nice balance is important.
Absolutely. And then we would like to see a resume, especially if you are not coming directly from your undergrad degree. We want to see what you've been doing in your professional career. Even if you don't think that it's directly translatable to this MSW program, I guarantee there are some skills that you've learned in your professional lives that you will bring to the table in the MSW program. As with all resumes or CVs, we like to see it in chronological order. So your most recent position, so forth, so forth. And then what have you done outside? So is there any organizations that you've been a part of, any nonprofits, any volunteer work that you're proud of that you want us to know about? We do require 2 letters of recommendation for this program. Lisa, do you want to share what those 2 letters of recommendation, who this should come from, and what you'd like to see in those?
Right. So they should be from people who can speak to your ability to do graduate level work, to do social work. They should not be friends or family, but more either professors, supervisors, along those lines. And if you are applying for advanced standing, then one of them needs to be from your VSW, either field supervisor or faculty member who can speak to your skills and preparedness.
So,
And all of these are detailed within the application. So it's not like you have to member them right now.
yes.
Information is outlined.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where also myself and Doreen will come in as well. I know there's a lot of nuts and bolts with any application, but we want to make sure that you feel confident before you hit the submit button. So if you have any questions, I always say best policy is just to ask. I think admissions sometimes gets the bad rep that we're gatekeepers, but that's quite the opposite. We want you to be able to join our programs if you're a good candidate. So definitely use those resources. And then last but not least are your transcripts. So we do need, but before you enroll, we need an official transcript from every college or university that you attended. Now, when I say every college or university that you attended, if you took one course at Hudson Valley or local community college, as long as that's on your official transcript from wherever you got your degree, that is okay. But if you did, for example, your associate's degree at a community college and then transferred for your bachelor's degree, we would need both official transcripts in that case. Lisa, is there anything else you want to bring up regarding the application and what we like to see?
No, I think that covers it.
Excellent. So I don't believe this applies to anyone on the call, but you never know, and especially for those that might be watching the recording at a later date. But this program is a great opportunity for international students as well, since it is an in-person program. We are open to having international students come to join us here at Siena. If your bachelor's degree was from an institution where English is the primary method of instruction, you are not required to submit an English proficiency exam. If your national language is also English, you obviously are not also required to submit that proficiency exam. However, if that is not the case that you fall into, we do request that you send us a English proficiency exam. We've listed out the minimum scores for the top 3 that we tend to see international students submit. So if you fall into that category, or if you have any other questions, again, rule of thumb, reach out to myself or Doreen. We'll point you in the right direction. And that brings us to the end of the information session. I actually realized that there's an outdated information there. My office has moved. So I'm over in the admissions building, Patricia Joy Hall, right with Doreen as well. So if you have any questions about the application process, or even if you want to come to campus, we'll get you a tour. It's not going to be an undergrad tour where you're going to the dorms and everything, but we'll make it specific to you and the program that you're looking at. So send myself or Doreen an email. We'll get a chance to meet you in person and show you that social work commons and get you a nice feel for what it's like to be a student here on campus. All right. I am going to stop the recording and stop